Last hour, President Barack Obama reminded voters in Pennsylvania just how important good governance is in the aftermath of Hurricane Milton. Tonight, the Southeast is dealing with the fallout of that storm. That's the second major hurricane to hit the region in just 2 weeks. Earlier today in the White House Situation Room, President Biden and Vice President Harris met with the team managing the federal response. Biden assured the American people, quote, "My administration was on the ground to prepare for the storm. We will stay for as long as it takes to respond, recover, and rebuild." Joining me now is the Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg. He was at the Federal Emergency Management Agency's headquarters early today, getting the latest updates from personnel on the ground responding to Hurricane Milton. Mr. Secretary, it's good to have you. First, I guess if you just tell us how are things looking, what the sort of read that you got today at FEMA from the aftermath of Milton.
Well, certainly this is a devastating storm. More than a dozen people have lost their lives. At the same time, some of the worst case scenarios that we feared yesterday evening did not come to pass. There's extraordinary teamwork on the ground. I saw personnel from so many different agencies, I lost count, working together in a very disciplined and coordinated way. The ones I saw at FEMA headquarters today, and then there's so many personnel on the ground. Between the two storm operations, more than 8,000 federal personnel, several hundred just from my department alone. And, that teamwork is leading to results. And, of course, most importantly, getting people the immediate aid they need and getting on that path toward normalcy, toward recovery that, we know it's going to take a while to get there.
Something I've noticed in our politics and information environment over the last several years is that it's easier to sort of subscribe to nutty conspiracy theories the further something is from you. But when it's closer, often that goes away, particularly for elected members. So you've got a situation like this where, as far as I can tell, all that nutty disinformation and really toxic and insidious disinformation that was flowing went away when you had local officials across the political spectrum in Florida saying, this is serious, please evacuate, please get to a shelter. And it looks like that part of it worked, but it also speaks to how important that is.
Totally. I've been really struck by how, as I've spoken to mayors as well as governors, both in the context of Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton, senators, obviously from both parties, and the partisanship really falls away. You wouldn't know from my conversations with these leaders which ones belong to the same political party I did and which belong to the other party. I will say also, I think because the misinformation going around Hurricane Helene was so disturbing, and the president took it head on. I think a lot of responsible leaders in both parties and in the press took that on. There was less of it in the context of Milton. Don't get me wrong. I'm concerned about information around both storms. But I'm very thankful that as local officials were saying to evacuate, and we were seeking to amplify that message yesterday, and then as the message evolved from evacuate to when it was too late for that, and the message became more one about shelter in place, people listened to those messages. And I think people heeding that warning and evacuating is part of the reason why we didn't have much more loss of life than we did in the case of Milton's landfall.
You've got a sort of remarkable situation with the FEMA budget now. Obviously, FEMA is funded for emergency disasters, but obviously these two disasters back to back will drain some of that money. There's going to be a need for additional funding and a sort of tug of war happening in Washington, D.C., in which the House Republican Speaker doesn't want to call people back. They're also fielding calls because lots of people who subscribe to that misinformation have been told that it's all been spent on immigrants falsely, want them to come back to Washington. How do you see that shaking out?
Yeah, we're facing a comparable issue just within the Department of Transportation's emergency relief budget. So over the weekend, we pushed the first $100 million to North Carolina, $32 million to Tennessee, and requests from South Carolina and Georgia in the single-digit millions. We've got under $200 million left in that account. Now, that's going to be enough to address the immediate needs and short-term requests that come in. But it's very clear that we're not going to be able to meet all of the needs that we can see coming in the months and years ahead without some help from Congress. And I know that's happening in many different parts of the federal response. Look, my hope and expectation would be that when Congress takes this up, it will be bipartisan and it will be something that lays politics aside. I know there have been some struggles in the past. Sometimes congressional Republicans have not been as eager to replenish some of those accounts. But right now, I think is a time when we can get some good bipartisan cooperation. That's certainly going to be the spirit that we approach things with when Congress comes back.
You mentioned that money from North Carolina. I mean, one of the things that's been really so disruptive and so traumatic there is the destruction of the infrastructure, particularly the transportation infrastructure. Reading stories of people that had to sort of cut their way out of the woods 5 or 6 miles, driving ATVs to places, being reached with drone or helicopter because roads are washed out. How long is it going to take, and what is the federal government doing to get people to be able to just traverse large areas of Western North Carolina?
Yeah, it's difficult to even describe, but the numbers may help a little bit. We've been working with the North Carolina DOT, and just to give you a sense of what they're up against, they have identified 6,000 of what they call damage sites, 6,000 different locations where there has been damage to roads and infrastructure. There are more than 631 closures that are being tracked. That's everything from closures along major interstates to small rural roads that are critically important to the communities that count on them. North Carolina's DOT estimates more than 100 bridges are going to need to be replaced. So, of course, the focus right now is to make sure that there is immediate relief and support just to get aid and responders into where they need to be, things like the debris removal, but also preparing for that long term. Obviously, when you're dealing with devastation at that scale, this work is going to go into next year and potentially beyond before things are truly, fully restored and back to normal, which is part of why we know it's going to require a lot of funding and just a ton of coordination. In addition to funding, we're providing technical assistance, every kind of support that we can offer from the federal side. And it's just amazing in North Carolina, Tennessee, and other states, and now also in Florida on the ground, what those state DOTs are doing, what those local officials are doing. We're making sure they get all the support we can give them. And that's something that the president has promised and has made clear to every agency in this administration that he expects, is that we will be with these communities for as long as it takes.
All right, Secretary Pete Buttigieg, thank you very much for making some time for us. I appreciate it.